Oh, baby. Back in the saddle. God, it feels good. Only took a weekend off. Felt like forever.
It was a long one.
It was a long weekend. I enjoyed all of it. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the DNVR Nuggets Podcast. Live two-man game from the Toyota Lounge, driven by your Front Range Toyota Stores. Toyota, the official vehicle of DNVR. Man, no shortage. The Nuggets. More has happened in 1 week of free agency for the Nuggets than I think has happened in 9 years of the Jokic era prior.
You know what's funny? After Game 7, I tweeted a picture of the core and I said, maybe they left some on the table, but we'll always remember them as champs, no matter what happens.
Yeah.
And here comes an eventful offseason. And everyone ragged on me.
Oh,
you think it's going to be eventful?
Come on.
And by the way, for the next 2 months, they were looking right. Because nothing, somehow even their search for a coach and a GM was uneventful. And I was thinking, I think I was wrong and I'm with the people. And then pinch microphone effect at them.
Yeah.
Microphone cord.
There it is.
They're getting a lot done. They're getting a lot done.
They are getting a lot done, and yet they're getting a lot undone. On today's show, we're obviously going to continue to talk about Valanciunas. I know we've had this would be the third show we have done, one over the weekend with Win and D-Line. They gave their perspective. We had the immediate reaction that happened on Thursday while we were live, so that almost doesn't even count. But now we get to give our perspective on what's going on and also talk about if the Nuggets have to pivot, what would that pivot look like? Is there a better option out there? We'll get into all of that. Very excited to hear. You've been at Summer League practice camp for the last 2 days.
I have. Over the weekend, we got to see some scrimmages, some shoot-arounds, and talk to the fellas. And
I have a take, even though I wasn't there, just watching the videos. I have a take, so I have to confirm it with you.
Let's do it. I'm looking forward to it.
We'll get to that one a little bit later on. Also, the Clippers, are they sneaky good? D-Line's not here to yell at me, so I can do this one. Are the Clippers
did this
good?
With myself this morning. I'm not kidding at all.
Are the Clippers good? We're going to have our annual discussion. I think they are. And then later on, we might talk a little bit more about Cam Johnson, because I got all these notes fired up and ready for the chamber. First, 4th of July weekend, how'd it go?
Great. We did an Independence Day at Cheeseman Park.
Looked great.
Some of the DNVR crew. It was awesome, man. I live right over there now. And
did you walk?
I did, and it was a short walk. Turns out living near Green and being outside is really nice.
My God.
I had forgotten that in my uptown ways.
Yeah.
It was really, really nice, man. Shout out to the DNVR homies, and we had some not just coworkers, but some of the DNVR community came and kicked it.
Oh, really? That's
it was
awesome,
a great time.
man. That's super dope. I caught a brown trout.
I saw you had a real Colorado weekend.
Man, I always do for 4th of July. I'm always go full Colorado, except for sometimes I go to Wyoming.
Yeah, that's not Colorado.
That's not. But this time it was incredible. Got to go up with my kids. My kids love 4th of July, man.
I saw
they get so into it.
That picture with the fish was adorable.
Oh, man. Yeah, she caught one of her first fish, and she was so pumped. Hope you guys all had a great weekend as well.
Really quick, you know what I didn't do this weekend?
What?
Argue with Greece. I didn't tweet at all.
Well, I didn't either. You know, it was weird because part of me felt like, should I leave my family and go to cover the story? But then I was like, there's nothing to cover at the moment. People can wait till Monday to get my takes on all of this, which is what we'll do. Although I will say, this is one of my first notes. Welcome in all of our Greek fans that are watching. In the U.S., when someone anonymously hates your guts, for whatever reason, like, for example, me saying the Nuggets should play hardball with Valanciunas, people would say, I'll kill you. You know, that's like a threat they would throw at you. I had maybe a dozen people threaten to rape me.
Oh, that's new.
Yeah, that's a new one. Isn't that a weird?
I can't speak to it because I avoided all international conflict this weekend.
A lot of people threatening that one to me when I was just kind of like, this has got to be cultural. Because it feels like a weird
don't
insult.
Throw around super lightly.
Yeah, you don't throw that one too lightly. So Greek Panathinaikos fans, very weird. Very, very strange to threaten me when my takes are obviously Nuggets based. But here's the story on Valanciunas as everything we know at the moment. I do not believe that the Sacramento Kings knew that he wanted out of his contract. Because why on earth would they agree to do that deal? They could have just lost that money. I mean, that was a salary dump for them. That's why they took on Saric. It was a salary dump. So it does not make sense that they would have known this. Denver clearly did not know. They were very excited to get Valanciunas. Even talked to people after the deal, very excited about what he was going to bring to Denver. But then this gets sprung on that he is leaving. So this is a mystery, and I'll give you a couple interesting, perspectives on this one. One of them is that Jeff Schwartz, obviously the American agent at Excel for Valanciunas. The other agent he has is one of Ben Tenzer's best friends from childhood.
Right.
So when we talk about these deals, like sometimes people will say, well, did Denver not have proper intel? Did they not get proper intel? I don't think there was intel to be had. And if there was, this would have been like, these are people that Denver would have had that sort of relationship with. So this one really is a curveball, a true curveball to Denver that I think throws them away from the plan that they believed they had successfully pulled off.
And seemingly a curveball to Sacramento as well, to your point. So either really well played in terms of keeping things under wraps, or quite possibly the offer just came through in a really remarkable window of time.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, that maybe the offer maybe this wasn't something that was materializing over months and months, or at least the culminating moment wasn't guaranteed. And then with the news of being traded, here comes this offer. Once Sacramento's agreed to the trade, there's a couple of ways of looking at it. Like, it's probably just the cleanest thing they could do to go through it, get the Schroeder deal done as well. Valanciunas and his agent, knowing that the Kings need that other trade to happen, could have maybe negotiated the buyout to some extent more.
And gotten money out of it, by the way.
And gotten money out of it. So maybe that was part of it as well. / that's a first-time front office as well, right, in Sacramento? Or a new front office. And you probably don't want to be backing out of your first big deal 3 days before.
Right.
Big deal. For them, it's a cap deal. But there's an ecosystem of reputations and just sort of standards of practice you have to uphold as well. From the Denver side, I think it's pretty clear that they expected to get a backup center in this trade. And I think that expectation is bleeding into some of the most recent reporting, which is that they're ready to play hardball.
Yes. And I believe, and some reports out of Europe have come out of this, I don't know how substantiated they are, but I will say that I have heard much the same thing here, that the motivation here is largely about family ready to be back in Europe. It's closer to home, Lithuania, and maybe even a little bit of, he's bounced around the league a lot. He's just done doing that. You go to Panathinaikos, you have a stable setup. You're going to be there. They're not going to trade you, and you can be closer to Europe. So there's personal reasons here. And I think on its surface, I look at that and say, everybody's welcome to want to be where they want to be.
Yeah.
But you can't sign a contract. And this is the thing where I don't understand. And I'm almost frustrated by the fact that there are fans out there that are like, well, if he wanted to go, you kind of owe it to him. Absolutely not. Players, we are in the player empowerment era, firmly into it, 15 years into this player empowerment era, which has meant players can use their leverage, not just in like, oh, I'm a free agent or I'm about to be a free agent, I can do this or that. Sign brand new deals and then force yourself to where you want to go. Now, he is willing, reportedly, to give up the entirety of his money,
right,
which makes it, I guess, in some ways a little bit different.
Right.
But it doesn't make it different for Denver, who is operating under assumption that, hey, what is the point of a contract? And why I think this is a big deal. I think Valanciunas is a good player. If he was here, Denver's odds go way up. We're going to talk about whether or not they could pivot, what it would mean to have him or not have him. I do think it means a meaningful difference to him. But more than anything, I think this is a canary in the coal mine sort of moment for the NBA, because there are more and more European players. European countries or European teams are having more and more avenues to signing players. And Valanciunas, to me, is the first, or really the first star player. Lower level players have done these kind of things before. Usually it's like the team doesn't want him, he doesn't want to hear whatever. This is the first time it's like a good enough player that the team desperately needs him to stay.
Right.
And if this is allowed, it is a precedent that gets set going forward for the Sacramento Kings traded for a European player. He doesn't want to be there. He forces his way to Europe. To me, there is actually more fallouts from this as the league as a whole for how it gets handled than just with the Nuggets.
I would agree with that probably. Vezenkov was in the same similar situation, but not the same kind of impact, possibly going to a contender.
Not a good enough player he's like a 10th, 11th, 12th guy.
The NBA does still have these, there is still the letter of intent situation across basketball, or not letter of intent, but the letter that you basically have to get a letter signed that confirms that you fulfilled your obligation to your contract. So it's still the case that you have to give up all your money to get out.
Right.
And so I think it's probably, I don't think this is going to pop up for, Sabonis and Jokic and players like that. So I'm not so worried about the precedent.
I mean, as much as I agree with you, though, there are power players in Europe that, could fund a crazy move like that. Again, I don't think it's going to happen.
Right. Like in theory, could the club help him with the buyout? Right. Could that be part of the agreement? Is we'll pay the $10 million?
But it's precedent, and this is why these things are important, because what happens in small waves, or in this case, medium waves, then the precedent is set for it to happen in bigger waves.
I guess I'm just wondering if Valanciunas is, I guess in this unique situation, he becomes a big enough, impactful fish that matters. I'm just pointing out that. A role player did this last summer and it didn't mean anything. You still have to agree to give up all the money. This team still has to agree to do it. But from Denver, I think two things. The first half of what you asked me, I don't blame Valanciunas at all for trying. If that's what he wants and he's willing to give up the money, try, fine. But I don't think Denver owes him anything. I think the real question is, what's the utility in bringing in a player that doesn't want to be there?
And this brings up the next point, because one of the common things I've heard, even our own D-line made this point on our weekend show, which is still up on our YouTube page. He said, we don't want a player who doesn't want to be here. And I understand that sentiment. I will say that it is always possible that contract disputes bleed into the locker room. We've seen that happen before. I don't think this is the type of deal that inherently would. If Denver says, no, man, we made a trade, we gave up things, like we maneuvered, and really what Denver gave up is not Saric. They gave up 4 days of free agency to go find another center, and then we're almost out of options by the time it happened. So we were making moves based on the assumption you were coming, you're not coming, we have to have you, so we're going to make you stay here. I think that's the type of thing that will not bleed into a locker room. Players all have business in the offseason, contract negotiations, what have you. Who was the 5th highest paid player on the team last year?
It was Zeke Naji.
Did that bleed over to the locker room?
Not that we know of.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously weird. Everybody is very aware of it.
But it wasn't a storyline.
It wasn't a storyline. And this is my point, is whatever happens in this negotiation, I think will be very firm, because both sides have to be firm, to try to angle for what they want. But if Denver were to play hardball and say, hey, man, we traded for you, we need you here, be in camp, I just don't think it will be a major storyline.
I think it's quite possible that Big Val wants this, or his Lithuanian agent negotiated this, as that's sort of the report that's come out this morning, tried for it, isn't getting it. And I bet I could still envision him just showing up and being a professional for a year.
By all accounts, he is.
All accounts, he is a professional. It's a backup gig. Like it's not the same as Jamal Murray doesn't want to be here.
Right.
And I guess the question is, does it become the same as the Bones thing became this really detrimental distraction?
Right.
I honestly can envision Val being not thrilled with this outcome, but showing up and coming to work and taking $10 million. I think there's a chance this smooths itself out. I understand questioning the utility and bringing a piece like that in after the Bones situation. I really do. But you got to examine the alternatives for Denver now, which is, barring the Horford situation, which is a weird and strange, what are the remaining options? Yeah. And they made this choice relatively early in their offseason because this was a player that they wanted, not just to get off Saric. So I'm fine with them playing hardball. You just got to hope that Valanciunas is ready to be a pro about it. And maybe, I don't know if they have any relationship whatsoever, maybe Jokic can help assuage that.
Yeah, I think all of those things are probably true. The last piece I have on this is I saw some Nuggets fans say, well, they should extend his contract because, the tax dollars and this or that, be a show of good faith to go to him and say, well, we'll give you an extra year on the deal, or we'll guarantee your second year. Absolutely not. Denver would not have wanted him with those extra years. Part of why he was the perfect guy to trade for, you got off of Saric's money, you get a playable backup center, and you have flexibility starting next year with that that non-guaranteed contract. So you had this opportunity to extend him would be a bad idea. I like Big Val. I think he's going to be among the better backup centers. I don't love him, and I wouldn't love Denver committing to 3 years of Big Val. So to me, this is not there's leverage, like you can use your leverage as a player. This to me is not leverage. The NBA and the Nuggets could say, hey man, we need you here and you need to come.
I just don't think he has any leverage unless he's threatening to just sort of be a brat about it. But I will say that runs contrary to the things that I've heard about Big Val as far as he approaches.
A+ intel on him.
By the way, just to be clear, chat, I was not saying Jamal Murray does not want to be here. I saw that follow-up question.
You said it would be
as an example,
as if it was him,
because he's a foundational
player,
piece. Yeah, so that's a different dynamic. Would be
so. This is kind of an interesting one. The last piece I'll tell you is this. The NBA is in a very weird place right now because there's a lot of deals that have not finalized. You know, Sunday was the big day where everybody could sign their contracts, and yet there's a bunch of them that are still hanging in the balance, including Denver's. And the reason for Denver is obvious. Some people have asked me, does it mean anything? The Michael Porter trade not go through? If Denver does have to pivot away from Val, they'll probably need the flexibility of those deals. Like you might have to add to those deals in order to make everything work. But it's not just Denver. There's other teams that are sitting and waiting on deals to finalize, and it makes me think, is there a big bombshell move still waiting to be made? We'll talk about that on the other side because my answer is yes, and I think there's some weird stuff going on in the NBA.
Whether on the road or at home or somewhere in between, First Bank makes banking easy, convenient, and secure. I like those words because I have a habit of making life really hard, really inconvenient, and I'm a pretty insecure person. So I'm glad my bank is different. Their mobile banking app allows you to check balances, pay friends, and manage your money anytime, anywhere. Here's the best part. Open a new First Bank checking account today. You could earn $300. First Bank is all about helping you stay on track. Their tools make it simple to stay in control of your finances without the hassle. So no matter where life takes you, First Bank gives you the freedom to bank how and when you want. It works best for you. So if you're ready for better banking and the chance to earn a little extra, head to efirstbank.com/bonus. That's efirstbank.com/bonus to open your account. Bank how you want, when you want. With First Bank, certain restrictions and requirements apply. Member FDIC. And let's keep it moving here and talk to you about our friends at Toyota. Let's go places, gang. Don't go anywhere yet, though. I got to give this read. And we want you to stick around and watch the show. Eventually, we'll go places. When you go in a Toyota. Toyota trucks have always been part of their DNA for generations. Toyota has built durable legends destined for greatness. Perfect for Colorado. They've got 17 models all told with all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive like that epic 4Runner. They also currently offer more low and zero-emission vehicles combined than any other automaker to give customers numerous choices to reduce their carbon footprint. So go ahead, do yourself a favor, visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. There's AutoNation Toyota Arapahoe in Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is a proud partner of the Denver Nuggets and the official vehicle of DNVR Toyota. Let's go places.
Alrighty, we are back here. I am positing that there's weird holding patterns going on in the NBA. For one, Warriors haven't done anything this offseason. Very odd, very strange, including make a decision on Kuminga. There's a handful of teams that are all just kind of waiting for dominoes to fall. And then, of course, Denver, which makes sense because if Denver does have to pivot, they would open some things up. So I wouldn't rule out there being a few big things still left to happen. Like, it's been a pretty eventful offseason. Yeah. I wouldn't rule out one more sort of surprise move around the NBA. I'm not even saying with Denver.
So you're thinking bigger than Al Horford signing somewhere.
But not necessarily bigger, because that might be part of it. Connected. Because what else do we know is that Al Horford is waiting on deciding between retirement or the Warriors. It seems like that one would not take too long. Warriors would seem to know. So it would make sense that he was waiting until a deal got done, because sometimes the order of operations matter and all these different things. But it also could make sense that he was waiting for a different opportunity to open up than maybe was phoned in saying, hey, we might have an opportunity for you. We're kind of have a weird situation on our hands.
That we're wanting to see how this works out. I mean, it would help explain some of the hesitancy on his part, by the way, for sure.
Yeah.
Because I know Warriors fans are sitting there going, what's the holdup? And now people are saying, is he considering retirement? I mean, maybe considering an offer that isn't yet able to be on the table is possible. I also know, Adam, that a very big name in the sport of basketball put out a very strange and vague statement via his agent.
What was that one?
That was the one from LeBron James.
Oh, which day was this? Was it a day ending in Y?
Well, no, the one about how he is opting in, but he doesn't like the situation, which was, as I saw it, the gist of that update. I don't know if that's where you were going.
Well, it's part of it, man, because I'll tell you one thing. The Lakers have not had a great offseason so far. So if I say so far, because who knows what's going on. And have you seen Dalton Connect, by the way?
Does he look good?
He does not.
No.
And it's not like, oh, Hunter Tyson didn't look good last year at his second year or whatever. Dalton Connect, when you look at the Lakers and how do they win this year, they've got 5 guys. And then after that, Dalton Connect better be good. And he looks horrible at Summer League through. I mean, it's only 2 games. But it is at least noteworthy that he's a guy that they're kind of counting on to be a top backup guy, not like a lower level we hope he hits, but he might have to play rotation minutes every single night. So I understand his concern about the Lakers and where they're at right now. And it is weird that he hasn't, that it doesn't seem to make sense that they are desperately trying to move on from LeBron while still honoring what he brought to them in a moment when they were down. And who knows? And then the Warriors are standing pat. Those dots I will connect and sit here and say, strange. Utah just opened up an enormous amount of money that they could perhaps, they seem to be buying everyone out. By the way, Utah has a new owner, new front office. They're 2 years now into this. Have they made any good moves?
No. No.
They did not get first round picks for all of the key guys they just let out the door.
Yeah.
Sexton, Clarkson, Collins.
They've been very bizarre with their rebuild and like being stubborn about letting guys go and then letting guys go for
nothing.
For nothing. I don't know what the direction is.
But again, that's why I say we have to kind of just put a pin because I think there's a lot going on. And I don't know if it's Woj's departure or what it is, but it seems like there's been more deals that have come out of nowhere, Luka Doncic being the one that's most shocking. And this to me, as I read the market and look around, I kind of look and go, it feels like there's some things that are all on hold right now. And why?
And maybe we've talked about this in the past. Maybe teams are more in the dark on what other teams are doing without Woj too, right? It's not just that he's the conduit to us on the outside of the league, but he was also known as a guy who wielded information as currency. And perhaps he was a vehicle in the seeming transparency behind all these moves. I have to say, I've found it kind of enjoyable that surprises are possible again.
It is enjoyable, to be honest. Maybe we'll get a big one here during the show. But if the Nuggets were to pivot, here's what I will say. I like Big Val. To me, he was as good of an option that seemed at the time realistically available. And so it's exciting. And if Denver had Big Val, I wouldn't pick the Nuggets to win the championship outright. But I would say that they were a top 3 team to do so.
I think so.
Meaning it's always, I think, the field versus any individual team. But I would have been like, yeah, but Denver's in that group of teams you should bet on. In fact, I did make a bet because I felt like, man, this team is really good. Without him, though, Vogt, with nobody replacing him, complete opposite. You cannot go into next season without a backup center for Nikola Jokic.
Or else the plan is Deron Holmes II, who is a rookie coming off of a torn Achilles, which is just, even if it works.
Or Zeke Naji.
Not a great plan. Yeah, or Zeke Naji. Also not a great plan. Which is, I think, why you've reached the point where the Nuggets could go, yeah, you could give us the full almost $11 million. Yeah, we'd actually rather just have you play here for a season. We're out of options. We need you. And again, I don't even think Big Val is probably not the 30th best center in the league. Maybe closer to 40, 45. I don't know, whatever.
He might be around 30.
Yeah, maybe 30 is a good number. Whatever. He's a flawed player at this point. He's not. It's not. You didn't add an all-star off the bench, but it's all about the comparison is who are the other backup bigs that have played over the years? Who are the backup bigs that are available right now? And Valanciunas is a guy that can stay on the floor as a center without Jokic on the floor, and they just haven't had that, and they need it.
Yeah.
So. That's why I'm in favor of playing hardball here. Even if he's a little disgruntled, I still think there's a chance he brings far more utility than you've seen from that slot in the roster.
And there's a difference, like I said, between the business dealings you have with an organization and the guys in the locker room who you're in the foxhole with. It's not Christian Brown who has forced you to come here. It's like not those guys. So I do think there's a level of getting over it. But here's my big point. I like Val a lot. I don't love Val. And there might be better options. This could, in the end, still break positively for Denver. I don't know that it will. I don't know if the odds are good. I know he's 39 years old. I still think Al Horford is a better option given the role that is expected of him. And I think he's incredible. And I see some people say he's 39, he's washed. Did you not watch last year? The man still was able to play incredible defense and keep a team afloat through various injuries to that roster. He's still a really good player. And if you're asking him to play 15 minutes a night, which is kind of the ideal amount of minutes for him to play in Denver, he would be incredible. And then beyond all of that, Horford being the perfect fit who can play a little in the regular season, but then in the playoffs, you can really count on him, maybe even pair him with Jokic in some configurations. I think that he would be as good of a mentor for DaRon Holmes as anyone. DaRon Holmes doesn't have exactly Al Horford's skill set. They are different both in style and in quality. Horford was a 2-time national champion in college. But stylistically, there's enough there for me to go, that would be an incredible player for him to sit behind for a season and kind of watch how he does things.
That's a really good point. You know, and Holmes, in terms of a career kind of aspiration, first of all, anyone would love to have Al Horford's career, but doing not just 1 to 2, but 3 to 4 different things at a high level as a rotation level big, you can stick around for a long time, especially if you get the shot going. And I think that's maybe a sort of good example for Holmes, but also he's really smart. And you've talked about wanting to see, this isn't to say that Big Val's dumb by any stretch, but you've talked about wanting to see the collective IQ of this team raise, of having different combinations of 5 guys on the floor where you just trust the right play will be made, because 15's out there, and that's really all you need to do is make the right play. I think Horford fits into that beautifully. You know, there is a chance.
He's enough like Jokic that you have some continuity, but he's also different, so you have some difference.
And he's just, yes, precisely, and just smart.
Yeah.
And there is a chance at 39 that some of this falls off a cliff. There is. Just his ability to contend for rebounds, to move up and down the floor, stay healthy. Signing any 39-year-old is a risk. There's no doubt. But he's a really, really smart player, and he's a versatile player, and I think there's an emerging potential versatility to this Nuggets roster that I'm excited to watch play out, and he would fit into that.
He had an incredible defensive game against the Lakers earlier this year after they made the Luka trade, if you recall. They put him on Luka and had him guard him and did an incredible job, an insane job against him, kind of a dominant job. So when people are like, oh, Horford, he's old and washed, he's still at his best as a championship caliber backup center. And so, and the other thing is, you know, the rumor is he wants to go to Golden State. He would have a bigger role on Golden State's team than he would on Denver. But I wonder if him contemplating retirement, if bigger role is necessarily better.
Right.
I wonder if there's a part of him that's like, I don't know if my body wants to play 25 minutes a night. I think 15 sounds good. And I think, you know, being on a championship team where April, May, June, that's where I really get to come out. I just wonder as I think of the two, I think both are great fits for his skill set. Denver might be better just in that less was asked for him, and he might be a rare player where less is more.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy to think about what he would want at this stage in his career, because Al Horford has made money. Al Horford has won.
Yeah.
He's a champion on multiple levels.
He's been in good cities. I mean, all that stuff.
So, it could even come down to like wanting to be near family, or there's at that point, maybe you're just leaning retirement. So that's a good point. Maybe a chance to play with another great and be able to sort of not be relied on, not be the reason that, you know, Steph and co had an ugly season together. Maybe that's appealing, but I don't know, and I won't pretend to know what Al Horford wants. Which is why, by the way, you know, when people say, "Well, just get Big Al," well, you don't know if you're just getting Big Al, as opposed to, well, Valanciunas is on the roster and we're keeping him here.
Right. There's other guys like Goga Kapitazde who maybe is available, but it doesn't make sense for me. Like, as much as I can see where he might not play a ton of minutes in Orlando because they actually have a lot of front court players there, but he's a good enough player that they can get more than whatever Denver could offer him. Like, Denver can offer him cap relief, basically, try to expand him into one of these trades. And I don't know that, I think he's too good for that. Then you have Vucevic, and maybe it's the same thing. I will say that Vuce fits more in the Valanciunas box to me.
Yes.
Where the crossover of what they do is similar to Jokic, that I wonder if you need slightly more variety off of your second unit. Nonetheless, Vuce is a really good player, and if he was your backup center, that could be cool too. He's Jokic's friend.
He's just a good player. Like, you go, there's not enough guys on the bench who can play NBA basketball.
Yeah.
He can.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, if you're relying on him, paying him a lot, those deficiencies, like he's not protecting the rim. He's, you know, he's not the most dominant physical force in the league, but he's a really skilled guy who can get a bucket, and they don't have that. So that would obviously be a very enticing option off the bench.
But I cannot imagine the Nuggets going into the season without a backup big for Nikola Jokic. If they did, it would greatly decrease what I would perceive Denver's odds to be. And it's funny because it's only a 15 to 18 minute per game role. It's not like it's a ton of minutes. And on paper, you would say, well, that's like the 8th or 9th most important guy. How important can it be? It's all about Jokic's health. That's what is big about this. And I fear the Nuggets going into next season asking Zeke Naji, Deron Holmes, Aaron Gordon to play backup center and trying to make it 82 games. That puts us right back in the spot where you're constantly worried about Jokic's fatigue, energy level, frustration, and more importantly, injury. And so for me, this is not a small thing. It's actually a pretty big deal, and Denver has to have some. Well, I'm going to talk on the other side about pivots outside of the center spot because maybe it opens up money for you to go somewhere else. But they can only do that if they were able to lock up another backup center. All right, let's get to that then on the other side.
How about our friends at Red Hawk Roofing? They are the best roofers in the business. They're part of the DNVR team, have been for a minute now. Go with the pros, make checking your roof a part of the spring cleaning routine. Well, we're well into summer now, and it's starting to rain again. Hopefully you know your roof is good to go. If not, you got to get in touch with Red Hawk Roofing, where they look to establish long-lasting relationships that matter with their customers. Maybe you met them for a small job. You felt like you could trust them. They did good work. And now you know the next time, God forbid, that there's a real problem up there, you know who to call. They have quality materials, decades of experience, quick response time, Colorado's best estimators and contractors, free no-obligation roof and property inspections, free in-depth photo reports for all inspections. Supporting your local teams means also supporting local businesses like Red Hawk Roofing. If you're looking for a new roof over your home or business, be sure to check out Red Hawk Roofing at redhawkroofing.com or call 720-771-8921. Tell them that we at DNVR are the ones who sent you. How about Mando?
How about him?
You might have been told that you have some BO. You may have been told that. Not me. No one's ever. Maybe you personally got told that. And fellas, it might be because you're only taking care of the armpits. That's not body odor. That's armpit odor. With Mando, they overtly call out more colorful parts of men's bodies. I'm not going to list them all this time. Just the whole body. Just the whole body. Men's bodies. Their scents are geared towards men with options like bourbon leather, clover woods, Mount Fuji. And they have a really great starter pack right now, which is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for our listeners, new customers get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code. That's code DNVR. Use code DNVR at shopmando.com. That's shopmando, MANDO.com for 20% off site-wide and free shipping. Please support our show. Tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando.
Alrighty, we are back here, segment 3 of the DNVR Nuggets podcast. So now Denver has to find a backup center, but maybe they find one for cheap. Maybe the Val deal falls apart or what have you. You find it for cheap, or you can expand it to something else. Val is going to go to Panathinaikos. He is going to not, opt out of his contract and forfeit all the money. One of the questions you have is, could Denver then pivot? Could they get a center that they feel, one of these guys that we're talking about that's a little bit of a cheaper deal, and yet still find a way to, instead of route Valanciunas to Denver, route him somewhere else so someone else gets the cap relief and then you can take on a different salary? Or just some kind of trade you work out with your roster because, okay, Val's not here, we're going to sign this free agent, but now these players are more expendable. So I look at this and I think, absolutely, this is how the NBA works. As much as I think Denver had a plan for Bruce Brown, Cam Johnson, there's always players that become available or express interest, or a team that looks around and says, you know what, we're trying to get out of this thing over here, and now your disaster fits our disaster in a perfect way. Denver could, and this could be why this might take a while, is Denver could look around and not get a backup center with that money, but say, how could we make the most of this? Well, we didn't think we had enough money to get this guy, and now we do.
Do you have someone in mind, or are you just sort of talking open-minded?
I'm more talking because I think their roster makes sense, more or less, to me, top to bottom, minus the centerpiece. But when you have all that money to spend, there are teams that are looking around. I mean, I'll give you a couple examples. Washington just added Cam Whitmore.
Right.
Their guard depth is way too deep now.
Oh, I know where you're
They
going.
have way many. Well, I'm not even going to say Corey Kispert, who's long been rumored to be a Nugget, target or what have you. But he is one of many guys that they have there. Marcus Smart is another one. They just have a bunch of guys now in the guard spot where you look at it and say, why would you add Cam Whitmore if you don't have room for him? Maybe you clear room. But to do that, Denver doesn't need a shooting guard. So maybe Denver's looking around and saying, okay, well, this is part of a bigger plan. We can bring in a couple other pieces in. It's just a small example of, could Denver actually look to completely pivot here off of a Peyton Watson, off of a Julian Strother or somebody like that.
The pivot, I'm picking up what you're putting down. The outcome to me, I still think it should probably either be a point guard or a center. Whoever the next very good player is, or helpful player is that you bring in. So whether that's Big Val or the pivot, to me, I think, and it's not even, I actually think Jalen Pickett might be able to do this, but I think it's time now to find a way to get Jokic under that minute per game threshold. And I just don't see it happening with Holmes, Najee, and Aaron Gordon, who was really banged up last year as well. It just seems like asking a lot of young guy coming off an injury, older guy coming off of injuries, and then a guy who simply hasn't been good at the NBA level. So
they're just, to me, that's one thing I thought about in all of this was I would not be surprised if there is a bigger pivot that has to happen now, because Denver, if they can't get one of their impact playing centers, there's no sense in paying more money for a non-impact center. You still need a body. Even if it's a DeAndre Jordan, it's like, all right, we have to bring DeAndre Jordan. That's a vet minimum. But we now have the flexibility we didn't expect to have. So is there something else we should do to our roster?
Right.
It's something that I think Denver has to at least examine. Look around the teams, your New Orleans, your Utahs, Portland's, Sacramento's again, maybe. Yep, might have to go back to the well and look and say, hey, this player was kind of too priced out for us, but maybe now this makes sense.
But man, it feels like as much as ever, if not more than ever, everything is worth a phone call right now. And not just Luka, like everything. You might be surprised at what a front office is willing to do, because there's actually not an established playbook on hand to handle this CBA.
Right.
There's really not. And you've had 3 different teams now that have sort of won with 3 different looking situations. And I don't think it's as clear cut as here's your procedure.
Yeah.
And so I think it's worth making calls.
You have been at Nuggets Summer League camp for the last few days, and I am so excited to talk to you about it.
Sure.
Because I'm actually excited for Summer League. It happened over the weekend. Oh, also, you want to know one other thing that happened over the weekend, 4th of July weekend?
What's that?
Mark it down, Kale. I think it was July 5th, roughly 10 o'clock p.m. I watched my first Jokic highlights of the offseason.
Oh, wow.
Every year, the season's over. You kind of want to get away from it a little bit. You're just like, I'm not in the mood. I got excited. Watched some highlight through on YouTube on the little phone.
Real thing I did about 2 weeks ago, a friend and I sat down and watched a 3-hour-long YouTube reel of Jokic's best crunch times. And it wasn't an edit of him playing. It was just all the crunch times stacked together. You got to watch the Nuggets evolve over the years. You could see the point where Porter was on the roster but not allowed on the floor in important moments.
Yeah.
Then the part where Porter came to play. By the way, you know who comes out looking great in that video?
Let me hear it.
Will the Thrill Barton. Shout out to a legend.
Shout out to the legend.
There's also like a 3-hour and 45-minute compilation of Jokic's craziest passes on YouTube. Threw that on last week. It's a great one.
Did you? So you broke the seal as well.
I broke the seal last week.
Yeah. We all did. Look at us.
It's always kind of nice when you're, because I never do it, it's always organic, and I was just in the mood. I was just finding for the first time all offseason, I was in the mood for Nuggets highlights, and I went to them, which is a good sign. But part of why I was in a good mood is because I saw photos of and videos of Deron Holmes at Summer League. And my God, we do this all the time. Muscle watch. This isn't about muscle watch, Vogt. He looks filled out. That's different from he looks cut, right? Guy got in the best shape of his life or whatever. He got a little pump on. He looks older. To me, did it look like that to you in person?
He does, also because this is going to sound silly because we're talking about an enormous person.
Yeah.
But last year he looked young.
He looked like
youth just permeating the rooms that he was in. And
I'll be honest, 4 months ago he did too. It wasn't like even when we saw him at the end of the year, I didn't think this.
Yeah, maybe part of it is he's got some good facial hair working right now.
There's
also
a lot of
second facial hair puberty. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you
yeah.
but then eventually in your
still waiting on mine.
Like Christian Brown's like, oh, I can do the full beard now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Kind of.
Then things change. There's a little bit of that. No, he looks bigger. He looks stronger.
Yeah.
He also sounded very, very excited at him. Just very, very excited, and understandably so. A real, is it gleam in his eye? Gleam in his eye.
Gleam there.
Yeah. He does look filled out, man. I should also say, we don't get to actually watch the full practices. We get little scraps. Wow. So it's just in gym shooting. He was shooting the cover off the ball. He looked amazing yesterday. Just standstill shooting or whatever, or shooting drills. It's not like a game action, but I think that guy can shoot. I will say, we have seen other guys come and go that, like Tyler Lydon, Wancho, Hall of Famer empty gym shooters. doesn't translate in games. Hunter Tyson might be in that category as well. Hopefully for Holmes it translates. But he looked really comfortable shooting the ball. He looked good moving to me. He looked comfortable. And he spoke pretty candidly with us about being excited to get back to Vegas. Yes, he has thought, of course, about getting back on the floor where this happened to him.
By the way, same court, Cox Pavilion, the little court. Nuggets are always in that court.
Same court. Not only that, he didn't really get any memories under his belt except for that.
Yeah.
It was the first game. So Holmes admitted, yeah, I've thought about it, but it's onward and upward now. It's onward and upward. Now, he doesn't want to linger on that stuff, which I think is great. His positivity, I think, is something that, when he first had the injury, he and his dad were telling everyone, like, we got a list together of all the guys who have recovered from this. Like, we're not going to feel sorry for ourselves. I think that's really been the way he's handled it.
He was in weirdly, like, neutral spirits the night it happened.
I don't really think he let this, I don't know. But sometimes
he seems to be a very mature,
sometimes depression accompanies this stuff for athletes, and he just wanted to have a very positive approach. And everyone says that about him. Andrew Munson actually said he's probably the most positive person he's ever been around in his life.
Wow.
So, but yeah, for Holmes, he's excited to get back to business. He thinks the team is pretty good. He wants to put this behind him and just play basketball again. He admitted he did watch some of his highlights in that game before the injury. He was asked.
And he was barely in the game.
He said, and I remember this, he goes, I was starting to get a rhythm.
He was.
Right before it happened.
He was.
But Holmes is good to go. He told us he's 100% healthy. Those are his words, no caveats. Munson later said, it's not like there are back-to-backs there, and we're not going to play him the whole game and not give him a rest.
Right.
We'll think about it. But he's not entering summer camp with any restrictions, and I'm very excited for him, man. You can just tell how excited he is to get back to work here in a team setting.
And one of the things that Coach Munns, this is his second straight summer league, right? He was there last year. Very rare. The Nuggets always used to mix it up. He's back. One of the things he said was that Deron Holmes really can shoot the ball.
Yeah.
And I like that because, like, Zeke Naji for a while could shoot. Is he a shooter? We don't know, blah, blah, blah. It seems like that is one thing the team feels confident he is. Like, no, this guy can shoot. His shot is real.
I think I would even look at it as it's an expectation. Like, if you're saying I'm believing in Deron Holmes, it's because you believe he can shoot.
Right.
That's part of what you're hoping he can bring to the roster. And at least in this setting, again, we have heard these things about Hunter Tyson. And like in practice and stuff and in certain settings, he can't miss an NBA action, can't seem to buy one. But this is the early talk about Deron, is that he can shoot. And watching him shoot, it checks out.
And that's what's exciting. But the part about him filling out, man, you can get in the weight room. Some guys can add weight. Some guys can. I mean, most guys can add weight. But some guys, like Kevin Durant, never bulked up, right? He's a tall, skinny guy, but he did get stronger. You keep wondering about guys filling out. What will they look like? And Deron Holmes, to me, is right in the middle because he's skinny. But he's actually not that skinny. He's not like Bull skinny.
No, he's not.
Like he actually has some solid legs on him. And so my question was always like, is he just going to be more or less of a skinny guy, or is there a frame on there that he can kind of fill out? And just seeing him in some of those videos, seeing some of the photos, I'm like, that's what it is. It's not that his arms look like they're swole or he's cut or this or that, although he does look those things too. It's that he looks filled out in a way that I'm like, oh, he could actually be a really powerful power forward, not one of these skinny stretch power forwards.
I hope so. He's not. Some guys you just see them, and for whatever you've heard of or seen of listed heights with or without shoes, when you're standing next to them, you get like a different read on it. He's not the tallest guy, but he's filling out, and that's huge for his versatility because I think he can play on the perimeter a bit, shoot the ball, but real versatility for someone with the positions he's looking at, you need him to be able to be a physical presence as well. So I'm glad it looks like he's bulked up. He's listed from last year at 225. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's maybe more like 235 right now.
I'm officially excited to watch him play. And not just in the there are years where you're like, okay, I'm interested to see what this guy is. I'm actually very interested because the Nuggets have had a good offseason despite this Valanciunas curveball. It's still been a good offseason. That would throw even more gas on the fire. I want to be excited. Deron Holmes to me is almost like an afterthought to me, as in like this is his rookie year, so what do I really expect? It's really down the line. If he looks great in Summer League, that to me would change a little bit about how I view it. Be like, hey man, I'm kind of excited. Maybe he's in Strother's tier where we're like, yeah, he could play this year in a meaningful role. We'll see.
I think it's easier to get excited about it. Yeah, if they get that center, right? Like counting on him to me is a risky proposition. Having Big Val, then you start looking at it more as found money, stuff to get excited for in the future. And think that's how the org looks at it right now. I mean, Ben Tenzer's even told us they don't want to publicly put expectations on De'Ron Holmes. That's not fair. But as a prospect, he is exciting. Someone in the chat mentioned the shot blocking potential. Typically with shot blocking, we think about it at the rim. I'll tell you a fun thing we got to see, though, in the scrimmage was in an overtime scenario, tie game, 2.5 seconds left on the clock, I think. The ball is inbounded. He's on defense in this scenario. A corner shooter tries to spring free. Holmes is with him, blocks the jump shot at the buzzer in the corner to save the game, if you will, in that situation. That was cool. He was hyped on it. His teammates were hyped. Saw him with a nice offensive rebound and put back. Nothing too physically imposing, I would say, but it was limited scrimmage action. He looked good. Spencer Jones stood out to me as well. In that scrimmage. Spencer Jones, to me, in what we saw, was the MVP. Spencer Jones's jump shot form is not good. It's really remarkable. If you've never seen it before,
man, yes, and
if you catch it in a snap, like a freeze frame, you're gonna go, "What is this?"
We had one actually. Will you look up? Was it our photo or the Nuggets?
Yeah, I think it was Nick. I think. All right, so
look at DNVR Nuggets. I think we had a photo.
I mean, he's
of his
like
jumper.
bent. Like it's his body. He throws his hips out to the side. He's like doing it.
It's kind of it makes like an S shape almost.
It's not good. It's like if a guy that had never played before picked up a basketball and shot that way, you'd go, yeah, okay. Then tell yourself that Spencer Jones shot 50% from three in the G League.
Yeah.
He is a shooter. I saw him hit a couple threes in that scrimmage. He just moved really well. Spencer Jones, I think, moves and looks like an NBA player. I think we saw that in his limited minutes as well in the late audition he got last season, where, this is a two-way level kind of talent, but he physically is the part, and he moves well, and a very confident guy, too.
By the way, and I don't know if this is going to ruin it for people or not, Calvin Booth was a huge Spencer Jones guy. He actually wanted him playing more minutes last year. I always thought that request was kind of crazy. Cal had all these young guys he want to play. He really wanted Spencer Jones to be given a shot, especially when they were struggling defensively for a period there, some guys in and out of the lineup. So to me, it's like an interesting carryover. I know that's a guy that he really liked, and maybe it was the front office, the remaining people also kind of have some faith in. So
he's the 1-2-way guy they brought back.
And like we talked about this year, I think the Nuggets are going to have to think of those two-way guys as more almost like 10 days. Not even just two ways, but of like, we need our two-way guys to plug actual holes. Spencer Jones, Peyton Watson goes out, Aaron Gordon goes out. It might be he's no longer a two-way. He's a 10-day. He's here for a while because we need that type of player.
And by the way, maybe they're making the wrong decision here, but that rationale sort of, I think, helps explain. Trey Alexander had a mighty fine year in the G League.
Yeah.
And people are, and he's I think more talented as a hooper than Spencer Jones.
Has more star upside or whatever you want to call it.
But he's not the guy they kept. Yeah, there you go. You can
Look
see
at this shot,
his
man.
hips are thrown out
His
to the
hips
side
are
there.
so far to the side.
It's really dramatic.
You can see that right leg is at, I mean, what angle would you call that? Maybe like 80 degrees or something,
right,
like
right. But he's
very strange.
If you had to break the glass in case of emergency, I actually do think Spencer Jones is a more playable guy right now, say in Peyton's role, than Trey Alexander would have been in Russell Westbrook's or whatever, or now Jalen Pickett's or Bruce Brown's, I guess is how I should look at it. So I think Spencer Jones is that kind of way. Like, you got a much lower ceiling than Trey Alexander as a player, perhaps in terms of the skill factor, but you could play him for 5 minutes, I think.
Yeah. And I think there's excitement even for him at Summer League. The only thing I'll say about both him and Holmes is at Summer League is they don't do the type of things that would, like, I want to see him defend. You know what I mean? I want to see him make extra passes. Do those things really stand out at Summer League? I don't know.
I know. It's always hard to get a read on that stuff because the basketball's not quite organized enough almost.
Yeah, for sure. But Spencer Jones, a guy, very thoughtful, very smart guy, and fills a role that Denver could potentially need because they are a little thin at those spots, So
he's
the
insanely
guys.
confident, by the way, too. I say that because we spoke with him, media availability, and he's an extremely sure of himself kind of person, which I think is a good quality for a two-way contract.
Let me ask. We're going to be out in Summer League. By the way, I saw some people asking when is the game, the 10th, which is Thursday, very late at night. And guess what? We'll have a post-game show. You see me, Dev, D-Line, and RG. We're going to be out in Vegas, but Vote and Wind will be back here wrapping up pre- and post-game just like a regular season game, which I'm excited about. We'll probably call in from Vegas after interviewing these guys. So it's just fun to give reactions and be together with the community right after that. So make sure you're locked in. And then while we're out there, you know what we'll do. We'll have interviews with different people. We'll be taking the pulse, the temperature. You never know what players will be out there if we're able to snag them for a little 5-minute interview. So make sure you're subscribed to the DNVR's YouTube page. Let me ask you this one. What's the vibe of the others in the room, the front office, the coaching staff? Because this is a bit of a tumultuous moment they find themselves in. And usually at Summer League, at this point, things have kind of died down. They're watching. It's almost like the breather they get when it's all done. So now they're just watching their Summer League guys. What is the vibe there?
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to speak with them, did see them. Ben Tenzer was there. And really funny you gave me that lead in because Ben Tenzer looked like he was chilling. not chilling as in not working, as in he was wearing like I think Flint Tropics themed basketball gym shorts.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
Just chopping it up with Nick O'Hare.
Ben Tenzer having a moment?
Ben Tenzer having a moment. And then by the way, followed quietly by the report that he might just be like, no, you're showing up anyway. I'm like, look at
He's like Joe Pesci, man.
Yeah, dude.
He's got a little Joe Pesci to him right now.
I don't think I can say this one till after dark, but big redacted Ben Tenzer, man, doing his thing. I did not get to chat with them. But I think that the people that are still here are probably really glad that this seems to have landed this situation like on 2 feet with some balance, because the Nuggets just were at a real crossroads, real crossroads. Even the playoffs going as well as they did, which was not well enough, was a bit of a pleasant surprise. So I think there is a quiet confidence that they've sort of navigated that. But I don't know, man. I mean, I shouldn't speak for them in that regard. I don't know how stressed they are or not about Big Val. The vibes were good, though. The vibes were good. And Andrew Munson, more confident this time.
Really?
Yeah. I just think last time it was Munson's first year, and he was really candid with us about sort of the leap up it was for him in terms of the responsibility. And it was just fun to see him back assuming the same role with a little experience.
He's got so many like classic coach things, hands in the pockets on the sideline. When guys make moves, he kind of gives the head tilt and stares, then looks up like Malone used to do, or look up into the heavens. Like he's got a lot of the mannerisms.
And he's pretty self-deprecating in a fun way. He was just saying, he's like, yeah, I overcoached a lot last year, and I told myself not to, and I did anyway. So that's one thing he's trying not to do this time.
Since we have 10 minutes left, I'm going to fire off a quick take that we don't have time to go deep into, but I've been thinking about the Nuggets lately. I think Tim Hardaway Jr. is going to have a much better year than anticipated. When I was trying to think about, we'll probably do this later on in the week, winners and losers, of this whole offseason. I think Tim Hardaway Jr. is primed to come out here and just have a phenomenal year, and here's why. Who can handle the ball best on the Denver Nuggets? Jamal Murray? Who's next? Bruce Brown or Tim Hardaway Jr.?
That's even kind of...
And he has all the skill sets. Catch and shoot. And I think he's a very willing floor spacer, off-ball, like wide receiver, I call him, just playing out in the perimeter, not ball in his hands. But unlike all of the other players, Cam Johnson has a good functional handle. Like that, Julian Strawther can do some stuff. Bruce Brown, obviously. There are guys, Pickett. But I look at it and I go, he has the right combination of catch and shoot. He'll be great in those. Now I have to run pick and roll with you because the ball swung to him, or the ball dribble handoff, pitch it to you and run an action. And he could do some of those. I just think Tim Hardaway Jr., there's a really good chance that I'm not saying he'll be the best of the guys added, Cam Johnson will be, but that he might be the best relative to what the default expectation of him is. This might be the perfect system for him, and he gets to spend a year in it.
Curious how he's used. Great catch and shoot year, and if you're in Jokic minutes, you're getting great looks. He's also a guy who does like to be in rhythm, does like to call his own number and cook.
But I don't think he likes it in the way that Kawhi Leonard does, or Kobe Bryant. I think he likes it more in the like run pick and roll with me now.
With me now, okay, yeah.
Which is like that fits. You want guys that do that.
Well, I mean, off the bench too. If he's in those, like, let's say he's next to Jamal Murray in a staggered bench, I think you want that as well.
Right.
So I am very optimistic about him, and I think he's going to produce well above that contract. I'm kind of prepared vaguely, just that he's a guy that seems to drive people crazy at times. And so I'm trying to figure out what that's going to look like. But, he's not option 3, nor is he on a big deal. So I think there's a real chance for Tim Hardaway to sort of continue rehabbing his image like he did in Detroit, when I say his image, I just mean he was once really grossly overpaid.
Yeah.
And that just sort of colored how people looked at him. He's got a chance to, I think, flip that to being like this guy makes how much money? He should be making more.
Way more, yeah.
Way more.
And I think the thing you worry about with him, in my opinion, is his defense. He's not a great defender, but there's nobody nipping at his heels. Like the guy chasing him would be Julian Straw. They're also not good at defense.
Right.
So it's almost like there's a like for like.
I kind of think he's just a far more NBA ready version of what you're hoping Julian Strother would turn into.
And hopefully both of them work out. But as I was sitting here thinking it, I was just like, am I overestimating what he's going to be this year? Or I think he might actually be a guy that he might be this year's Bruce. I know we also got Bruce, but, but he might be this year's Bruce, where you're kind of like, man, he was so good on Denver. That was good. And then he goes off and gets paid.
Yeah, right.
I would not at all be surprised. Last one I have for you, we'll go really quick because we mentioned it at the rundown. We might as well go. The Clippers and really all the teams in the West. Here's a hot take for you. Teams are still building their rosters for Denver and Jokic more so than OKC. And I think the reason is that you can't really build a roster for OKC. They're 15 deep.
Yeah.
They're just really good, and it's not like you have to any one thing. They have a great defense. You have to be able to beat it. But Denver, you have to be big. They got beat by Denver in a 7-game series, and they added Brook Lopez and John Collins. They now have 3 front court players to give Denver a problem. And I just look at that and I go, I know we do it every year, but I kind of think the Clippers made a good move, and they're actually positioned to be at least as good as last year, not drop off as we all thought they probably would do.
I really like their roster. I had this conversation with myself this morning. It led me to the same conclusion, which is they'll probably be more or less the same, like really, really good, and probably not win the title.
Yeah.
Could this version of the roster have beaten Denver in Game 7 last year? Maybe. I mean, I still think because they did ship out Norman Powell. Not that he was that great in the playoffs, but he did do a lot for that team. So I wonder if they need to now go land the Bradley Beal buyout to really sort of fill out their vision. I think it would be a great roster that probably bows out in the second round.
Yeah, maybe. It is possible. I only care about how do they match up with Denver, and I look at it and I go, as good as Norman Powell was, I think they match up with Denver better. And you have to at least factor that in. The one thing I will give you is Harden and Kawhi were both healthy in the playoffs last year. Very rare.
Yeah.
Is that going to happen again? Probably not. But on paper, they now have 3 bigs, which is one of those prerequisites.
Their roster's great. I think it's the same thing. Until Kawhi on the Clippers and Harden just in general, just get it done, I'm not going to get too excited or too worried.
I also just love...
They're good, though.
I do love the idea of them adding Beal. There's talks now that maybe Beal gets bought out. By the way, talk about buyouts. Holy crap. $40 million to Budenholzer, $20 million to Monty Williams, $97 million reported to Bradley Beal. That's how $150 million they would pay to 3 guys who are no longer on the team.
4 months ago, we're going, do you think anyone would buy Saric out? Just buying near maxes out now is what we're doing in this league.
They would stretch and cost them $20 million in cap space for 5 years. I can't believe how down bad that is over there.
Yeah, there's really not a clean, visible path to redemption.
Also, why
for them.
buy him out? Are they going to win it this year?
It's a great point. How many years are left on that deal?
2. You might as well
suffer it,
just
dude. You're
suffer
not 2
another
years away
year.
from
Stretch
anything.
him next year. It's half the cap hit.
And also, yeah.
What's the worst thing they can do? It seems like they'll do it. So who knows?
And don't let Bradley Beal get what he wants.
But I was laughing because I thought Bradley Beal goes to the Clippers. If that's what happens, he didn't like being a third option.
Oh, well, yeah.
And now he's going to go be behind Harden. And
that's a good point. Yeah.
In LA. And then LA always does this. They just get the shiny new thing. The Clippers right now, I think, I look at their roster, I'm like, it kind of makes sense. There's a lot of pieces. What if we added Bradley Beal? It's like, all right, you're just the Clippers again.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. I did.
Oh, your backcourt's
I
Harden
was
and
thinking
Beal?
if you're losing Powell, you probably want some more juice. But you are right. It's a roster that looks really nice on paper, and then you go, is Harden ready to be a 1A at times in the playoffs? Probably not. Is Kawhi going to stay healthy? You already got the miracle year. And then Beal is it going to be a third option? We already found the answer to that. It's no. They do have a nice roster. They have a very nice roster.
Yeah, I'll put my clown makeup on again and say, the Clippers are at least interesting. They did take Denver to 7 games.
I think they're definitely interesting. I think they're definitely interesting.
It's worth noting they took Denver to 7 games, and Denver had that buzzer beater in one of them. I think Denver was the better team, but I think they're
Denver
more of
got better too,
but they're more of a laughing stock than they deserve to be. Although they're also the laughing stock they deserve.
That's what I mean. Like, I think you're right, and then I think they'll be in the exact same place they're always in.
Let's do these in 1 minute.
Johnny Keane, could we turn Val trade into a Olynyk/Williams?
I mean, again, maybe I can't tell you because I don't have the numbers in front of me, but that's what I'm talking about. Pivots. Like, is Denver going to end up pivoting into some unforeseen trade? Possible.
Stefanos Zakaratos.
I'll bet you he was trying his hardest to talk a bunch of that sounds like a Greek fan back in Nikon, trying to talk shit. Not smart enough to be able to work the super chat, but we do appreciate it. Or he was a fan.
What if he was trying to say something really nice? So bad. Thank you, Stefanos.
I feel so bad.
Chris Peters, if no Jonas, any interest in Garza?
I don't think Garza's good. Like, oh, there you go. Yeah, so that's not gonna happen. But we do appreciate it, Chris Peters. That does it for today's show, guys. Everybody, we'll see you guys tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.